Hello, beautiful people. I'm Connor.
And I'm Becky.
And together we are Another World Belfast. We have a message to show some love, and this is our podcast.
Woo, we finally did it.
I think this is my late night voice notes.
Yeah, this is the voice that you use to send like voice notes to people whenever you're in bed doing all your social medias and
Hi
stuff,
there,
and you realise you haven't replied to anybody for a week.
Just a wee note. If you, I just left a bag of rubbish in the middle of the shop. If you could just put it in your car and take it to the dump.
Sexy.
Thank you. We've been planning this for years and years, and we've just never really got round to it.
Yeah, it's always been a case of time and money and doing a million other things at once. But we were delighted to be invited onto Brona Diamond's podcast a couple of weeks ago. Our pod mother. And we just had the best possible time. And we totally fell in love with Sean, the producer, who had Hello, Sean.
He's now our producer.
We've
abducted him.
Yes. It was a mutiny after all. But by fortuitous circumstance, a slot was coming up in the studio. So here we are.
We're now next door to Brona.
Yeah.
And
the queer's around the corner.
The queer's around the corner. We're like,
these are in like a semi-detached house.
Yeah.
Yes, we are those neighbours, and we better not fall out with her.
Yeah. We're the ones that are down the road.
You'll hear us speaking on the other side of the wall and word up. Just playing bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And refusing to turn our music down at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And like an encroach on your shared fence.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Actually,
Excuse me, Mrs. Can I have my ball back, please?
Yeah. If you fell out with Brona, she'd stab your ball. You know what?
Yeah. Although, in fairness, we saw her taking out a heckler with the most style and wit I've ever seen at the Deer's Head the other night. She was wonderful. But she sort of included this woman who was basically bringing the vibe of the whole night down. I don't know how the guys did it, but Brona just came in and just involved her, gave her the attention she needs. You can clearly see that she has 4 kids and knows how to handle a bit of noise.
Yeah, she didn't resort to fuck up. She really knew how to kind of like play the game and involve the person, and I suppose that's what she does on her podcast. And actually, Brona is going to be, for all that we're speaking here today, just us. Sometimes it will be us, sometimes it will be a guest, sometimes it will be themed. But Brona is going to be our first guest. So
yes, very excited.
Whenever we can pin her down, we will we'll have her here to we'll do whatever we're going to do here.
Yeah, we had quite a bit more to talk about, it seemed. And then we made her late for a gig on Thursday night as well.
She actually rocked up. We were outside and she said, "Do you know what's mad? You're here. I've got a gig."
We're literally here to see you. And also Ian, and also Diona, and also Jay, I think was the other performer.
Oh, the shaky one?
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
All of his bits were about shaking. So
yes.
I'm not just...
Yes, that's part
I'm
of
not being disablist.
Yeah.
So, yes, this is the Show Some Love podcast, we're calling it?
Yes, I think
Gorgeous.
so.
And part of that, we were sort of thinking, what do we do? How do we make it interesting? How do we fill an hour? And then we thought to ourselves... Catch yourselves on. We know how to do that. We've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And
Chatty Cathy's.
And we know how to fill time. If we ever do anyone else's podcast or interviews, we are a nightmare to edit. Less for
Sorry,
something
Sean.
like Brona's podcast because we could just talk and there wasn't too many cuts. But if we go and speak to, say, someone from a paper or a magazine or something, we give them content. I mean, like,
they ask one question. They've got a list of like 6 or 7 questions. They'll ask one question, and then like an hour is gone, and they're just like, "Oh, I had some questions. I think you've probably answered them in whatever the hell that was." But
I've cried in interviews, told people not to keep stuff in, had to, all sorts of things. So I think we'll be good to fill the time. We'll be good to talk and hopefully keep you guys entertained. If you're listening on a podcast, if you're listening in your ear holes, we're also available on YouTube. Hello to YouTube. How's it going?
hello, YouTube.
If you are watching on YouTube and you are listening on any of the other platforms, do all the stuff you have to do. I don't know what that is. What is that,
Like and
Sean?
subscribe.
It's like, subscribe, turn the bell on.
Turn the bell on.
Oh, ring the bell.
Yeah.
We get to say that.
Let's see, on the audio platforms, if you give us a follow.
Yes.
Yes.
So that will show up in your feed.
Yes.
Each time you log on to Spotify or whatnot.
Wonderful. And interact on social media. Give us your likes and your shares and tell your friends if you've enjoyed it, or if you just wanted to know a wee bit more about who we are and what we do, because we get lots of inquiries and messages and things like that. So we thought that this was like a nice way to be able to get it all out there in one go.
Get on and say hello. There's lots of ways to support us. We're a charity. We didn't really even say that. And we provide free clothing and toiletries and underwear. And we do lots of stuff to bring a bit of like light and joy and energy to the third sector. Which is really important because it can often be very solemn and very sad and deeply serious, which it all is. But often we don't need to remind people of that fact. You know, we want to inspire people to come together and show solidarity without having to take another fucking Diazzi.
Yeah. It's there's quite a lot of, and you know, you can understand why within the charity sector, the community sector, and things like that, that there's sometimes the subject matter can be very serious and quite dark at times, but that doesn't mean that we need to take ourselves too seriously. You know, we can still try and bring a bit of energy, and we've said it for years, but we tend to focus on the amazing things that happen when people come together and build communities and help each other out. And we were just talking about that actually, about our lovely friend in common that we have, Con Mac. That it's this country, it's one of the best things about it, I think. The fact that
the best,
you know, it's
and
like,
the worst.
Do you know who you need to speak to? Do you know that sort of mentality?
Yeah.
Years ago, we both ran away. Becky ran away to London, and I ran away kind of everywhere. And I ran away because, and I guess we both did, because
like a flock of seagulls.
Yeah.
Like a flock of seagulls, but because everybody knows everybody and they all know each other's business. If you're queer in this city, we've all had sex with each other. We've all got in trouble in all sorts of other ways, and everyone knows what went on there. But for all that's the negative of this place, it's also a real positive. I think going away and coming back, you can come to realise that actually it's really easy to build connections. Yeah. You just need a Con Mac. You just need whoever else that's like a brona that's like a real connector in the city that knows, you know, everyone, Sean, you know, but you need those people, and you can make things happen really quite quickly, you know, and you can sort of build something quite nicely here. So, and
I like to think that we do that as well as best we can. You know, we try to really do that. You know, anytime that we have a platform in it, whether it's by social media, whether it's a meeting that we're in, you know, whether it's somebody that we're talking to, we really try our best to go, oh, do you know who could help you with that? Or do you know who you need to speak to? Or, well, actually, we were doing this thing and we were there with such and such, to mention them, to make sure that, like, you know, we're sharing
in true charity passion, you're signposting all the time.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. It's but it's doing that on the street too, and it's doing that also if you guys are listening or watching. Tell your fucking friends, you know. Tell your business or your.
It's that thing that they said, and I think it was maybe Kathy Martin shared it, and it said a client is more likely to be a friend than a friend is to become a client. And I think it is sadly true often here, but not with everybody. So, like, remember that. And, like, for us, it's like a volunteer is more likely to become a friend, or a supporter is more likely to become a friend than a friend is a supporter. There's not, like, a huge amount of people from our, like, as we refer to, like, our former lives that we would necessarily have in our lives right now. But the people that we do have in our lives right now, you know, whether it's our board members, our volunteers, that is really, like, that is our friends and family. Now we have these incredible people with us that, you know, whenever something good happens, you know, they're the first people that you want to ring and say, oh, this amazing thing happened, like, what do you hear? You know, and I suppose it's like try to be the person that supports the people around you, you know, like whenever, like, I don't know, Kim Kardashian, name another sort of influencer celebrity like that, releases some new product, people shit themselves and share it all around social. Oh my God, have you tried it? But if your friend has just, like, launched a new business, you know, it's really important to be that person for them as well, or whether it's a project or a charity or whatever it is, you know, especially in these tough times, you know, things are just harder than ever.
Buy it. If you've got the money, buy it. Loads of people have the money. We don't have the money. A lot of people don't either. Yeah. But buy it, and if you can't buy it, go to it. And if you can't go to it, fucking share it.
Yeah, buy your Christmas presents, not off Amazon, not off shite, like big shops, high street sellers and all the rest of it. You know, if you want to go buy your Christmas presents for people, go to a local market where somebody who lives up the road from you has put their effort into making the thing. You know, it's their craft, it's their joy. You know, go and buy things that have got love, like, woven into them and that make a real difference in your local community. Talking
of buying stuff, this isn't going to be just a full ad, but we do have a shop. It's at the back of Castle Courts, out the back, in Smithfield, and we sell loads of lovely stuff. We're basically a charity shop on steroids. We are bright pink and full of gays, as we like to say, and yeah, you can come there and support us, and we use that money to help people. So
we have a clothing bank on site. We actually have 2, although one of them we are repurposing into like a pop-up so that we can do pop-up clothing banks, one of which we're doing next week with Rainbow Refugees.
Tomorrow?
No, next week.
Okay. Becky does our
Yeah,
Becky
I do the timings. Calendar. I do the diary.
Are we off tomorrow?
Oh no, tomorrow. It is tomorrow. I beg your pardon. Yes, it's tomorrow.
We've got ourselves.
No, this week
it is tomorrow.
We've got, but the dates will be up the left by the time this comes out. But we've got a wedding to go to this weekend, so we're off for that. So yeah, we're working tomorrow.
Gorgeous!
But
gorgeous.
It's going to be really, really fun. But our clothing bank in City Centre is where people will come and they'll choose some clothes and some shoes and accessories and toiletries and things like that. And the idea is that people have the choice for themselves as to what they want to wear, rather than sort of being handed a bag of something that'll fit them, or depressingly having to hunt through a bin bag of donations that God knows whether they'll fit them or not. But on that site we also have our beautiful shop, and in time for this to come out, people can still buy their Halloween costumes. We've got loads of witchy wonders. We've got black dresses coming out our ears. We've got actual costumes.
Everything's sequins and fluffy and a wee bit mental. We've been saving for Halloween. We also have loads of stuff for Christmas as well. So if you want to be a slutty Santa, you want to be a slutty Santa,
I do
Sean?
Indeed.
I had slutty Santa down for you. I thought that was...
that's my go-to every year, slutty Santa.
Yeah,
slutty Santa, just
you're
sort
slutty nurse at Halloween as well, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. I
so short that you can just see just a wee bit of
slutty
dick.
zombie cheerleader.
Oh yes.
Once I met a girl in Yellow. If anyone remembers Yellow, it's what's that bar called now? God knows.
Well, we're on
Yellow,
Lux
then mint,
for a while. It was
and then
mint.
something else.
But anyways, it's in the Cathedral Quarter, up the stairs. It was on till 6 a.m. Used to always be that Teddy Von Trump was in the middle of everything. I don't even know if they sold alcohol. I think they just
did.
Oh, did
you
they?
just probably weren't taking any of it.
No, I was on the bottles of water.
Yeah.
I used to have the best fucking time in Yellow. Why was I saying that?
Oh, I don't know.
Slutty zombie cheerleader.
Slutty cheerleader.
Sorry. Welcome to our world. I'm ADHD brain and I'm a half-story queen.
Yeah.
But yes, so I remember meeting a girl once at Halloween. It's my birthday on Halloween, so it's my birthday coming up soon. Happy birthday.
Yeah, and we'll be going to men's.
But I remember meeting a girl there once, and she was dressed as a taxi, and we were really off our tits. We were like, look at that wee girl, look at that wee girl. She was like dressed as like a New York yellow taxi, and I went up to her and I was like, what are you dressed as? Like, I mean, could barely even see the wee girl. And she says, well, I'm a taxi. I says, are you a taxi? She says, no, I'm a slutty taxi. Brilliant. Perfect.
Wonderful.
Perfect. Well, I don't know what slutty thing I'm going to go for this year. I think we're going to Mints. We're partnered with Belfast's first big queer warehouse kind of party experience. It's kind of what Belfast has needed for years. There's no cameras inside,
which I think is one of the best things that they just have introduced to the city. Like, because not just for people that are wanting to protect their privacy, maybe their identity, maybe they're not out yet, but also sometimes whenever you go to like a night like that where it's like dark and the beats are banging, people want to turn a fucking look, do you know? And maybe that might not be a look that they would turn like walking down like Hill Street and Cathedral Quarter on their way to go out. But to be able to just get straight to the venue, go in, dance your ass off, snog whoever you want, do whatever you want, listen to amazing music, and then head off to some party somewhere. Actually, the no camera thing is just like, it feels really freeing as well, because you can concentrate on partying rather than like posing for Instagram.
So it's like no smartphones?
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah,
you get a sticker put over your phone on the way in.
So it's like bargain.
Yeah.
Very.
Exactly. And actually, I've seen a couple of other new... There's a club night being launched in November that is doing the same thing. So I think it's called Fluids. But I think it's really cool that has caught on. And I think it's like I'm sure it exists elsewhere. Like, it's the Berghain idea. But I think it's really cool that that's caught on, because it kind of brings the night back to the night, rather than social media content, which they've all sort of turned into.
I think, it's going to any party, going to any gig, and it's phones in the air, and that we're all taking a selfie. I don't want to be in the background of your shot.
No.
I want to take my own. I want to face tune the life out of them.
Yeah.
I want to sort of like, in the theme of like Kim Kardashian going out for the night, we're going to shoot it. We are going to light it.
Yeah.
We're going to look amazing at the start
We're the
of the
only
night.
people that bring a ring light to a club.
No, but we're going to make it. We're going to make it a thing, and then we're going to go and party.
Yeah. And take more pictures.
No, at like 3 a.m, you don't want a picture of me.
Yeah.
And I do not want you to have a picture of me.
Yeah.
It's also like, it may be that you're queer, or that you want to express yourself in another way, or that you want to be more private. But that also then comes back to kind of like the dance and rave scene, where people want to get people want to get wasted. They want to get wiped out. They want to get completely off their balls. And not that happens in Banana Block or at Mints. But people want to do that. People want to feel safe in that environment, even if that's so just banging a load of drinks down them. You know, you want to binge drink? Go for it, because you maybe just get one night out a month and you need to get away from your bloody kids or your shitty flatmates.
And you've managed to get the only taxi in Belfast that will book to go home, you know. It is wild. Like, that's a thing. Like, how is Belfast surviving without taxis? Like, we were chatting to somebody last night and they were saying that, like, basically you can notice, now we're never out, our lives don't really allow us to go out, our social life,
right, if we're working,
our social life involves
working at Mints.
We go to Mints because we're their charity partner, and we don't just go because we're working, we go because we want to go and hang out with these amazing queens, the amazing whole collective of them. We love them dearly, and last time we partied with them afterwards too, which was one of the best nights out I've had in a long time.
We got home, and I'm really quite proud of this. I've told everyone, we got home about 8:30.
We're like,
and I swear, you know, like years ago you'd be like the walk of shame. I think once you're sort of like over 30, I was like walking up our street like, oh, these cunts better look out their windows. Like, guess who was like full.
I was like, they better not look out their bloody windows.
Pair of sunglasses.
I'm in my 40s. I only have half my makeup on. But no, we go out for Mints, and then we have our second favourite night out of the month. Well, they're kind of actually equals, is we have a thing called Sunday Club, where all of our volunteers, we invite them to come to the shop, have a few drinks in the shop. We have, if the weather's nice, we'll put out some seats onto the street and we'll sit and have a few cans or a few vodkas in the shop. And it's just a nice way to get to hang out with people that have come to be part of what we do and to give back to their community. Often we're running into the shop, have like half an hour and have to run back out again to go to a meeting or something. But this means we have the time to sit and say, well, what about your new job? How's that going for you? Or what about is your husband over podcast? I was going to say there, over COVID. You know, like, it gives us the opportunity to actually talk to people. That's and brilliant. Then sure, our total darlings over at Cabaret save us a table and let us bring our volunteers in, give us a guest list spot, and then we bring the noise.
Wow. We bring the life. I love that, you know. I just love drag queens. I love the local queens that we have here. They're kind of just, they have provided for the queer community, like, all of the entertainment and everything you expect for queens, but also safety and a place to check in if you're a bit wrecked, or if you're by yourself and you're waiting for a taxi, you'll know there'll be a queen there to have a chat with you and make sure you get one. It's a real community, you know, and it's people like that bring it together.
One thing I want to say, though, on that, the last time we went...
Oh, terrible.
I came away, like, saying... somebody needs to teach the children how we watch drag, how we watch cabaret, how we watch burlesque. The performers on the stage need feedback, and I swear to God, I was nearly like going full mummy vibes. Yeah. I was nearly going to go round to everybody and go, could you please, are you enjoying yourself? Would you tell your face? Do you know what I mean?
So that group
People
of American...
like this.
There was a group of American sort of witches. I think they were witches. Maybe they told me they were witches. I was really drunk.
Sanders sisters.
Very like that, yes. But it was this big group. It sort of felt like they were into crystals or something. But anyways, they were very, very sweet. And we knew a couple of them. We just met them somewhere else. And they were all there together and they were having the best time ever. But they were at the back and they just weren't, I don't know, they were blocked and they were having fun, but they weren't really there maybe necessarily for the show. They weren't really giving it the light.
They were there on a night out and they wanted to talk to each other.
Very that.
But then the counter to that was the two front rows that were there were sort of sitting like this just to be entertained. But the thing is, at a show like that, it's very much, there's an energy feedback going forwards and backwards. So whenever a queen has done a performance of some kind, you got to give them the woes and the claps and give them that energy back to what they're giving out. So the whole room feels really alive. Well, like, in fairness, the 8 of us did a good job of filling that room with noise.
You were saying you felt like going up and saying to them. Yeah. I actually, those women, they were there to have fun and they were chatting to each other. But I had to go up in the break and just say, girls, he's having a good night. And they were like, yeah, we're having the best time ever. And I'm like, well, would you show that? Like, I don't know if this is like a point of cultural difference. Like, maybe you're more reserved. You're not, you're fucking Americans.
Yeah.
But I need you to give it life.
Yeah.
Or kind of like get the funk.
Yeah.
Because these people put a lot of work in. And if you are here, it's sort of like the road that they'll see most, that back road that's a little bit risen in Shoe Factory. You gotta, there's like a give and take here. You gotta give some of that energy back.
Yeah.
I think really half of them really took that beautifully and took it maybe the way that I would. Other half not so keen.
But that kind of feeds into the fact that they're there to receive the entertainment rather than like realise that that's sort of a gig. Like it's very much of an interactive thing, you know. Like it's like, you know, you imagine the sort of the most polar example of that is like a Rocky Horror Show. Everybody knows how to, well, maybe this is again an age thing with me, but if you go and see Rocky Horror Picture Show, you go dressed up, you throw toast, you interact, you shout, you know, like there's like a real kind of like it's like interactive theatre almost, but maybe not in the lyric. I don't know, but
it's so tough. See, like performing and, you know, and the crowd just sort of not getting the vibe that you're going for. It's either up to you as the performer to try and like make them realise and give like a wee bit more of that energy to turn them round. Or just like sometimes it's not your night because they'll not go for it.
Like, and in drag, it's much easier because as a drag queen, you're expected to have that kind of, you know, like you can like read somebody in the audience, or you can sort of like do the interaction thing much easier because you're like, not always, but you're nearly always like a cis man in a dress in heels who's just like not taking any of your shit today, thank you very much, you know, my penis is somewhere around my arsehole like with tape, so I have not got the time for this. But I found like whenever we were at the comedy night, the Deer's Head last week, like whenever a comedian is trying to deliver a piece, a set, you know, whatever, and whenever people are heckling really badly in a somewhat audience like room, like I felt so sorry for them. I felt so annoyed.
It's not the biggest room, so it's really personal.
Yeah.
You're not in the fucking SSE shouting something. Yeah. You're like within...
You can see the whites of their eyes. Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah. But I suppose you get... It's like... The more you go to something like that, you start to know what the etiquette is of them, you know, because sometimes it's good to interact, sometimes not so much.
Well, whether you're in the bath or you're in the car or you're cooking in the kitchen or you're in bed, hello, this is my you're in bed voice. But whether you're doing all of that, hopefully you're reacting in the same way. And if you're not, just turn it off.
Yeah.
Just,
don't blame
just turn it off.
No judgment. A wee bit.
But no, one thing that we were planning for the podcast, we've actually talked through a few of the sort of events and the people that we hope to talk to, and we hope to talk more about people like Sassy and the girls from Mince, and lots of other queens and things that we hope to have on. Really here, if we have guests on, we're going to speak to, what do we say, artists, activists and changemakers, maybe, but artists, activists, changemakers and creative
just basically people who are a gag and who are doing cool shit in the city.
Yeah, people who are interesting, because the city's it's fucking full of amazing people and amazing creatives. Yeah. But sometimes you have to sort of be in those spaces to see that, and often there's a paywall or there's a reason that you can't go out,
and people don't necessarily people struggle with social media. You know, we're very lucky that that's not something that we struggle with, you know, that we're very comfortable on social media. Eventually, we didn't start out that way. You know, we had to work really hard at it. Like, I remember the first time you were trying to take my photo for our very first project, and I was doing that thing that people still do to us now, which is like, oh, I don't really like having my picture taken. And you're like, jump up and down on the spot. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Jump up and down on the spot. And so I started jumping up and down on the spot. And next thing, boom, the nicest photograph of me that I'd ever seen at the time.
You get this little, if you just jump, you get this little bit of volume in your hair.
Yeah.
It's really like, it gives you like a little bit of movement. It's like you have a wind machine, but you know, when you've only got a fiver.
Like you're standing up an alley on Botanic Avenue.
Well, it's very much, L'Oreal Paris, but your budget's a fiver, and you're up the side of China.
Yeah.
You know, with like a 4 megapixel phone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, very that.
And like even like one of the pictures, I was like maybe like scratching my nose or something like that, and that ended up being a really nice. So from then on, I just trusted you to just tell me what to do, and I would do it. And then I suppose just practice with social media. But I think in this city, like there's a lot of people have like we have this terrible thing that we do to people. It's like notions. Who do you think you are? Type thing. Yes. And I think that really stops people from putting themselves out there. I was very lucky that I worked for Diageo for 13 years, and it being such a like an Americanized company, they were very good at like teaching you how to sell yourself, to sort of know your value and be confident in what you do. Excuse me. And so that element of things I was always very comfortable with. So when it comes to things like speaking on camera, Connor was just like, just practice. And now I can do it. It's fine. I'm very comfortable. Like, still feel a wee bit of, like, what do they say, like squeaky bum time, like standing in the front of Banana Block and there's like a crowd of people all around and you're holding your phone up like this going, hi, we're at Banana Block today for a mark. You know, you still do feel like a bit of a dick, but you still just gotta kind of just get over it and do it anyway. And if it takes you 2 or 3 goes, like, whatever, you just take 2 or 3 goes.
I've never got over the scunderization,
Scunderation. I'm correcting you on a fake word.
of standing doing that.
Yeah.
Like it's different taking a selfie. You can sort of snap them out and you're all good.
Yeah.
But if we've like got a light plus the phone plus we're making like multiple...
The light is what turns it into the next level of douchebaggery. It makes it better, but it does.
The light makes the content better. It makes it makes it more professional.
Yeah.
I also as well, I think it says, I don't know if this is better, but it sort of says like content creator rather than just dickhead.
Yeah.
You know, well, maybe that's the same thing.
2 words.
But it says more like this is my job. Rather than like, I am just here and I have a blog.
Yeah, rather than like, do you want to know what I ate for breakfast type thing? Rather than actually, I'm doing this for my work, you know, which is a different thing.
What's worse is like, see when you work alongside other people, like, so it's you making that and then showing it to Becky and then you're just, in your head, Becky's going to turn around and go, dead on. You know? You're so afraid to show it to anyone else.
Yeah. Well, probably be me doing that to Connor more, as in the other way around, as in me making it to show to Connor is much more likely to elicit a response of, can you go and do it again?
Sometimes.
Than the other way around.
Or sometimes just a wee bit much.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not that like making content is hard. It's not like life is fucking hard.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's hard to kind of like resell this, a very similar experience.
Yeah.
So you are super excited to be at a thing
that you go to once a month and have done for 2 years,
which is very exciting.
Yeah. Also, happy birthday, Banana Block! Just coming up on our 2-year anniversary.
And in fact, what we're talking about, if we're outside making content outside of Banana Block, what we'll be talking about is maybe we're there for East Block Bazaar. We're going to be there. I don't know when this comes out, but we'll be there maybe this Sunday.
Yes. No. This comes out on. So today is Friday. For anybody listening to that, it comes out, but we'll be there on Sunday.
Oh, perfect.
So Sunday the 29th, maybe? Yeah, 29th. Sunday the 29th.
Are you writing us a note, Sean? Is it a
Don't say fucker bugger.
Oh, it's for you.
I really like Connor and Becky.
What a sweetie. Well, we actually really
class.
Yeah.
We have been we've been bitching at Sean, and we'll have the last couple of like on Bruno's podcast, and we'll have a wee bit here today. But we love Sean. He's a sweetie.
Thanks.
Yeah.
He's a sweetie. So no, we're very, very grateful to be here.
Well, I'm remembering the tangent that I went way off on. I'm going to bring it right back onto it again. We were talking about people in Belfast, and that's why we started talking about social media and content creating and things like that.
Which is good.
And I like basically I have to have like 2 memories, like my functioning memory and then also my like tangent memory for both of us. Maybe that's 3 memories I have to hold. But one of the things that we want to really do on this podcast is to be able to shine some light on people who maybe don't use social media. So some people do. Some people are amazing at it. Not everybody does. Not everybody necessarily like, because it's literally our job too. Like we call ourselves professional attention seekers. We are promotion machines. We have to like regularly work with press and things like that. It is literally our job.
We don't show any images of anyone that we help, and we never have did that,
and we never will.
So it is. A lot of the time it's us.
Yeah, it's our bakes. But like that's okay. You know, that also kind of works. And, you know, often we find like if we post something that's very personal or it's just a picture of us, it'll like get 500 likes on Instagram. If we put something up that says like, we've just done a fundraiser, so if you want to help our work, 35 likes. Do you know what I mean? So we know what kind of gets into people's eyes, basically. So we have to just keep going that way. But if we have a podcast like this, it gives us the opportunity to share the amazing shit that's happening in this city and the amazing people within it, that maybe if it's sharing the platform, we'll create the platform, and it means that we can bring on other people to be able to talk about other cool shit that we find interesting as well, and that hopefully other people will feel it is interesting too.
I'm giving it a Diana Ross moment here. You know, like we don't have dry ice.
Oh yeah.
And we did actually we did Google it because we're like, when we sit and do stuff like this, if we're sitting vaping, are we like
Are we allowed to?
Are we breaking the law?
Yeah, you were
because
not.
Of course, like, it's very us to be
Yeah.
sort of the right side of the law.
Yeah, and for anybody who is listening rather than watching on YouTube, we're vaping.
Oh yes, of course. But no, we are very excited for that, and we've got a really like amazing lineup of guests. Some of them we've asked, some of them I haven't yet, so we're hoping.
But
for
we're
the
pretty
best.
sure they'll say yes.
Oh, we really hope they do,
Yeah.
because there's loads of people that we want to have these conversations with.
Yeah.
And one of those things, we're sort of going to work it out as we go. One of the things that we're hoping to do is sort of build in a few little segments. We love the idea, and this is from our pod mother Brona, but we love the idea of doing a Queers Around the Corner experience.
So that is an invite. If you've got any letters or questions that you want to ask us, you can send us a message to any of our social platforms, so on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook. Send us in a wee Dear Deirdre type letter,
Very
and
Dear
we'll
Deirdre.
open it and answer it live.
The more Dear Deirdre, the better. I think Dear Deirdre in the Sun newspaper was about half. Half of it was, I used to love it. My dad used to read the Sun, and I used to love reading it because half of it was like men that had wives that had just like recently started bumming. You know, it was always that.
The
in the
wives
Sun.
were bumming.
The wives were actually bumming the men. It was a pagan
And
experience.
half of it was like, "Oh, look at these knockers."
Yeah, very that.
That.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
because it came in sections.
It
So one
clearly
was like
really influenced you in your life as well.
one was bumming, one was like big milkers, one was where did that come from?
Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight. Someone
George's.
talked about big milkers, and I was like, "What?
Yeah, turned.
That is that?"
That's the straightest thing I've ever
I
heard
like
in
went
my
to
life.
go and phone some straight
That's
people that we know
like-
and realised that there's not that many of them in our lives. Sean, do you use the term big milkers?
I don't. It's not part of the regular
It's hard to get into a
vocab.
sentence, really, isn't it? Like, can we just stop saying it? It's like really turning me.
Big milkers.
Stop it! It's
Mummy
gross.
milkers.
Oh, mummy milkers.
Don't.
Maybe that's
no.
what it was.
No, I don't know whether it was.
Mummy
anyway.
is even. See, now, say the mummy thing, weird. The daddy thing, great.
Yeah.
That's.
I
maybe
read a
that's
thing
misogyny.
recently that said that like whenever people get married and they eventually stop having sex with each other, one of the things that kills that the most is whenever they start to use the phrase mummy to describe the mother. But like at the same time, not that I know anything about like what my grandparents like personal lives were like in terms of their relationship to each other,
Their intimacy.
but like I remember being really confused as a kid because my granda, like until probably the day he died, referred to my granny as mother, like, you know. But
That's
like
sweet,
he'd be
though.
he'd be shouting up the stairs like, you know, mother, do you want these potatoes peeled or what? That was a really cute thing that they did. Was whenever he retired, and he used to work for the credit union, I think, and he used to go out on a wee bicycle and collect people's money for them and things like that. But whenever he retired, this is kind of thing. I feel like I grew up really without much misogyny. Like, of course, you can't avoid it. But whenever he retired, my granny said, "Well, I'm retiring too. You needn't think you're going to come home here and just sit in a chair and just be fed and be looked after and all the rest of it. I've been working, looking after the kids in the house and all the rest of it. So if you're retiring, I'm retiring. That means that from this day..."
Just lived on Indian food.
Yeah, basically. No. Are you kidding me? Oops. There we go. There's
there
the set
goes our
display going
set.
already.
It's actually a good opportunity to talk about Charlotte Allen, who has given us a few lovely pieces made from the clothes that we don't use anymore because we are big into reducing, reusing and recycling, aren't we? Shout out to Belfast City Council. But yes, so she's actually, if you watch on YouTube, if you're listening on the podcast, she has supplied us with a few bits. This one actually says girls, gays and theys.
So it's an embroidery hoop?
It's an embroidery hoop. I don't say that because often I get it wrong when I'm describing it to people. But she uses our old fabric and then she makes this lovely little bits. So we've put them in our set, our lovely wall. Unbelievably, for anyone watching, I'm going to put it back on the wall.
I wouldn't even be arsed, honestly. It'll just fall back down again.
I know. I am.
Charlotte's spirit just decided to visit us.
She's not dead.
But out of body, you know, she
where
like
that's got a
decided to
good
visit us
connection.
and just
She's
say
like,
like,
don't forget about me.
yeah.
So what we'll do for next week is we'll put a nail in.
Yeah, we'll do it properly.
We'll make sure that they're actually attached.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one's girls, gays and they. So it wanted to, I don't know, it wanted to speak to. Actually, do you know what it wanted? It wanted to make me move in this chair, so it sounds like I'm like really farting.
Yeah.
These chairs we got on Facebook Marketplace from a lovely girl in Lisburn, and they're
They're a wee bit noisy.
They are a wee bit noisy.
But that's okay. There's a bit of an ASMR thing going on with that as well. Then
ASMR, IBS, and ADHD.
Yeah, we'll get like an arse mic on the go.
Yeah.
Oh, an arse mic. I love it.
Let's go to the arse mic.
Or arse cam. That can be our Patreon. Yeah,
the under the table camera.
Whole cam.
We also spoke about like having a Patreon version of this podcast where like we're all bottomless.
Yeah.
And so like it's just a full frame version of this podcast where you get to the bottom.
Yeah.
OnlyFans, but it's just sort of our like flaccid cocks. Just
speak for yourself.
You talked about pet names there.
Yeah.
So like you said about like your grandparents and the ones, I know pet names can be very held close to the heart and stuff, and you're maybe a bit embarrassed, but do you two have pet names for each other?
Oh God.
So no.
You don't have one for me?
No, but this is, do you remember we were telling you earlier on about the fact that like, so this morning we woke up, we have like our alarm set to put the radio on in the morning to wake us up, and we always put it on to Radio 2. And this morning we woke up to what we describe, we're kind of weird, I get it, but what we describe as like our dog's favourite song, and that is Star Trekking by The Firm. So our dog has a nickname for me that everybody now calls me, which is Mean. And it just kind of sounds like a wee American voice type thing that Connor sometimes does for Joey, our dog.
How did you realise that the song was the dog's favourite song?
He told us.
Joey, yeah, this is like too much. But Joey, it's the one thing. There's like nothing in the world that embarrasses me. No, it's kind of two things. One is that, which is my deepest, darkest secret. Even our volunteers and our friends, everyone else, they will very, very rarely hear that voice. And also that, what was the other one?
But whenever people tell us that we're brilliant.
Oh,
yeah.
It's when people say thank you. It's just, it makes you kind of, or say like, oh, isn't that great what you're doing? Which is very sweet. Their intention is to give you love. But how that's received for us is just almost always in like silence.
Yeah.
But no, when it comes to Joey, he's got this voice.
It's like a wee... It's like a wee comfort thing that I think like Connor did coming out of like a kind of trauma and things. And this wee dog who is just like the cutest wee thing. Like whenever Connor and I first got together to do this, the first morning that he was staying over in my house, which I lived in with my husband at the time, and I came down in the morning and again, this is like different life, but he was sitting at the island unit, the breakfast bar attached to the island unit, with Joey on the seat beside him. Now Joey is like a Jack Russell Chihuahua cross, so he's tiny, and these were like high bar stools. So Connor had like picked Joey up and set him on the bar stool beside it, and the two of them were sitting eating breakfast together, and they just like become the best of friends. I
do have like a sort of generic animal voice. It's really I don't even know if I can think of it. What would it say in his voice?
Wait, it's funny whenever you put on the spot like that, like to try to think about what you would say.
This one goes out to all the ladies with Big Milkard.
Oh, gross! But yeah, exactly that.
My name's Joey, and I
he has a bit of a speech impediment as well. He actually has multiple speech impediments.
He has multiple speech impediments. So I basically only really speak in that voice in the house, which is so weird. It's not
so funny. I think there's going to be quite a lot of like outing. Like Brona outed us on her podcast about being like former lived Protestant / Unionist backgrounds. No longer, but now you've just been outed as being like, well, we're not exactly shy or behind the door about being a bit weird. In fact, we kind of refer to ourselves and everybody around us as like sort of very comfortable with being a bit weird, you know, being a gang of weirdos, because that's the best people.
We're the same in the house.
So.
I've got a wee weird house voice as well, and it's like this, like transatlantic, half English, half American. Like, voice.
Give me some.
Oh, I don't know.
It's hard to do it on the spot.
It is hard to do it on the spot.
You're probably talking it most of the time whenever you're at home as well.
It is so hard. I can't even like think of something that I would say. But if you can just imagine, like something half English, half like American,
like a mid-Atlantic twang.
Is very interesting.
Yeah,
it's like, and it was really off a time. You don't really hear it as much anymore.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's Pierce Brosnan has that accent.
Yeah,
there's this. Yeah,
but I think there's also something that happens with like like there's like an ADHD kind of thing that happens with doing those kind of wee funny voices as well. It's like
stimming.
Stimming, yeah, it is. It's like something that you're able to, and that's why I think that was really helpful to you that Joey became this sort of vehicle that, like, not just because he's also just such a cute wee thing that just adores Connor. Like Joey loves me. Don't get me wrong. I have no worries about that. But when Connor was in the room, I don't get a look in unless the cat wants to come and sit on my knee. And the minute that Jeffrey, our cat, like comes in to try and get some attention from me, Joey will like make a beeline. He could have been lying in his bed for an hour, eyes closed. The minute the cat is in on my knee, he is running straight over.
Last night I got out of the bath and I got myself all dried and all the rest of it, and walked into our room and I was like, "Hey, beautiful, how's it going?" You know, and was actually trying to talk to Becky.
I didn't even
Becky
react.
was on her phone, she's like sort of scrolling things and sort of having a look. And Joey does always react to that. Joey's always like straight on his back, just like, "Hey, Dad." But I was like, hello. And it took me like 4 or 5 hellos before Becky was like, "Are you okay? Like, can I help you?" She was like, "I just assumed," even if I'm like give me a kiss in the house, sometimes Becky won't even react because she assumes that I'm just like trying
Talking to the dog,
trying to kiss Joey, you know.
Yeah.
I look forward to hearing your Mid-Atlantic.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll prepare it for next week. I'll prepare some phrases. But yeah, we also have the "Are you talking to me or the cat?"
Yeah,
You know, all the time.
It's
like,
the cat.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh my god, that was a way. Do you want to hear what happened?" I'm just like, "What? What did you say?" And I was like, "No, it's just talking to Bobby."
Yeah.
And
Bobby.
Bobby and
Bobby's-
Ben.
Bobby and Ben. Are they both?
You've
are they
got
both
Bobby and
cats?
Ben. We've got Jeffrey and
cats.
Joey.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, our babies. Why were we talking about our pets? But the pet names.
Oh, yeah.
So in the house, I call Becky, which is so weird, and I really try not to say. I'm just going to say it out loud because if it ever happens, then we've at least got an explanation for it.
Yeah.
But I call Becky Mem, which is M.
I.
In my head, it's M-I-M, and it's how Joey with his multiple speech impediments, which he fakes.
Would say
Yeah.
It's just faked. Like
Yeah.
he's made it up.
He does it for
attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really his character is really complex. Like I can really
is.
I can think as Joey now. Like there's a whole
The thing is, something comes out of his mouth at Joey, and then he laughs and reacts to it.
yes, because
as
it's
well.
a flow. It's like a flow space. Also, in terms of Becky's talking about stimming, there's this thing that he does, and it's sort of like yes, and he sort of does that a lot, and it helps me as sort of an adult human to that sometimes needs to do that, but sort of I have like you were saying, like a vehicle or a character to not make it sort of as weird. If you are out there and you have ADHD or you suffer from anything else and you need to stim, it is not weird.
No.
You can do that.
It's a coping mechanism, and so we're down for coping mechanisms. I think it's beautiful, you know.
I don't know how we got the whole way sort of round the houses on this, but what we were going to say is the guests that we bring in, we are going to talk to them about all sorts of stuff, from our pets through to everything else, and we're going to talk about their work, and we'll focus on that for a bit. But often I just find it, especially if we're speaking to people as different entertainers, because they'll have great stories, but if you are speaking to people in the third sector or the charity sector, often it can get just so heavy so fast. We have become kind of experts in our own world at not doing that, and you often deliver the facts, and I kind of bring a bit of lightness. You know, there's some things you can't just like add a punchline at the end if you're doing a panel, you know.
Yeah.
But as part of sort of being able to talk through not just our work, but the things that we love and the things that make us, that bring us joy in the world, we've got a little idea that we're thinking we're going to call something like "Show Some Love and Tell,"
or show and tell some love.
Show and tell some
Show
love.
and tell
We
some-
love naming shit. There's always a thing.
It'll be one of
We'll
the
figure it out.
few. We
Yeah.
we would also when this comes out, this is a pilot, so if this comes out, we would love in future to have a lovely jingle. We're gonna make some signs. We'll maybe make a graphic for it. Right now we're just doing
Talking.
our best, and we're on and we're talking. But
Shooting
yes,
the shit.
so the show some love.
Show and tell some love.
Show and tell some love. Smooth.
That's a catchy one.
It's going to be, we're going to get our guests to bring in a few items. We're going to do one item and then we're going to choose one and maybe bring a couple, but then just have the one to talk about. But we're actually going to bring a couple of things so we can kind of run through them, and it will be things that people love and bring them joy. Now the problem with that is that people are going to bring in pictures of their fucking kids, and I don't care.
Which
Like,
is nice, but that should be a default.
it's lovely. Of course you love your fucking kids.
Somebody's going to clip this up. when somebody inevitably comes in with a picture of their kids.
Yeah.
And then like it shows you them going, this is our Kieran. And then your face just going like,
whatever.
There's Paddy McDonald was doing McDonald was doing a podcast the other day, or maybe it wasn't the other day, maybe it was years ago, but it was something live, and he did a cameo, and funny that I Love Rangers. And all of the bits, they'd sort of made him in the cameo say all of the bits that they needed, and they used that to chop it up to make him say stuff.
Oh, that is so funny.
The only one that I can remember is I Love Rangers, but there was a load of them.
Yeah, there was I Love Rangers, don't buy tickets to my show in the SSC. Yes. I love Dick.
I love Dick.
What else? There's so much.
Wasn't there?
I was like, how the fuck did Aaron plan that out so well?
It was perfect. Yeah. Well, someone might do that with the kids thing. So rather than them speaking about their kids or them speaking about their necessarily their partners maybe, or their family, all of the basics that you should just really be grateful for in the first place. We would love to know sort of more about the interest in maybe objects or little things that people have went through,
or objects that represent something, like maybe represent a moment or a memory or an idea or something like that, but that the object, we'll explain what the object looks like for people listening on Spotify or iTunes, but then anybody who's watching on YouTube can then go and actually look at the object.
So what we're going to do is run through our items, but the items that we're going to be showing, if you're not watching on YouTube and you can't see, or you want a bit of a closer look, we're going to put them up on maybe a little story segment or something on Instagram, and we'll make a thing out of it. So we talked about this segment and we were all biz for it. We talked about sort of a few bits that you may or may not see happen for the Show Some Love podcast, and I had floated this idea through the week, or we had talked about this idea through the week, and then I didn't really know if it was going to happen or not, so it was only last night. It was quite late. We were meant to record this a little bit later today, and we've decided to do it in the morning. And really quite late, really not very sober. Becky was like, well, so what about those things? I've got a few wee questions that have worked out that I'm going to ask you. So that was an idea. And we've got my items. So we've got 3 items. And I was like, Becky, what the fuck?
What you mean? We talked about preparing and you actually prepared?
So I basically then, I then ran about the house. I took a box from shelves that are in our room, emptied it to just doom boxes just full of crap, emptied it out in our bed, and basically ran about the house and grabbed things. Now we're quite lucky because it's where we just have lots of wee bits. We're really grannies.
Yeah, we're maximalists is the way to describe it.
There's stuff everywhere from like little just bits of
but
things.
People give us things, or they'll like as a wee gift, or we'll maybe not so many things that we've bought or things we've just collected over the years, but we're really like attached to our memories, and like I suppose we love our life and the people around us and things, so we've got lots of wee mementos and bits, things that are meretricious that have just like added into
meretricious and a happy new year. There we go. That's us. So
the key thing is about this, just to explain, is that Connor and I have brought a selection of items each. I don't know what Connor has brought and Connor doesn't know what I have brought, and the idea is that we bring the item and we'll put it out for you to show, and we'll say why we love it. So it's a nice wee sort of memory jogger, or a thing that helps you get to know us a wee bit better.
Great. And with limited time, because we have Bilal, we were worried that we couldn't fill the hour.
We should have known better.
Yes, but with limited time, what we're going to do is give the story, get it out, and then we'll try to move through as many of those items as possible.
Totally.
So if you want, do you want me to go first? Because I actually got,
first.
I think, Becky, have you got 3 items?
I've got more than 3 items.
I have maybe 10.
Okay, well, go for your best ones first, and we'll see how long it'll take.
My best one, and one of the most important and special things that we have in our world, is this thing. Which is really special.
Oh my God, that was such a good choice.
So this is in its own protective box that our friend Claire bought for us. It's very, very, very fragile. It's never left the house. So the box that I'm holding right now, for anyone that's listening, is like a mirrored kind of box with a little leaf, like
Monstera
one of the Monstera leaves that we have behind us. It's kind of like one of our things.
You could hold it up to the camera and show the wee leaf on the front.
Yes. And then inside of this is like a little padded box. I don't know what this box would be used for.
I don't know, maybe like jewelry or fancy things.
It's where I imagine if you were a bit posh, you'd put your good Coke.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's that kind of a box. So inside of it is this little shell. So it's the shell basically that so it's completely intact. So it's the shell that encases an urchin, and they will change that out. And what they normally do whenever they need to shed their shell is break it like a crab. It will just break off. Now, they won't cast like a crab. Often it won't come off whole. It will break. It's very common for it to break.
So to get it intact like this,
so to get it intact
rare.
Is really, really, really rare. How would you describe this?
Michelle Jujubee.
Well, that's her
That's
name.
her name.
Yeah. That's her name, Michelle Jujubee, named after Jujubee, the drag queen, and the fact that she's a rare shell. I'm going to put her down.
Yeah. Do you want to tell the story of how we got her then?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our stories start in this way. We have had quite the journey and quite the relationship with lots of substances, really, as healing and as powerful tools in order to develop ourselves. And we were on the beach. We were living in Ibiza years ago. We went out for the summer because I was in the middle of a breakdown and was determined to top myself. And Becky had just started a divorce. So,
but it was also because we'd just come up with our coffee scrub product. Whenever we first started together, I spectacularly left my job, my life, my husband, all the rest of it, and we were determined that we would always be independent in the work that we did, and so we came up with this idea of a coffee scrub. But in order to get it sold, we needed to start to sell at pop-up markets. So we do that. We've been doing that for years now. But we started out by deciding that we were going to buy a caravan and travel to Ibiza and go and sell it by the hippie markets there, which meant that we were, getting away from the who do you think you are and especially as our lives were very much changing, we wanted to go somewhere that was completely fresh, that we could not, necessarily have any baggage or any pre-existing lives or stories, and sell it from fresh. And
a bit less fear as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so we decided to go and sell this coffee scrub at the hippie markets of Ibiza. Lived in a caravan in a campsite for 4 months, which was one of the most cathartic experiences of our lives. And our neighbour was this amazing human called Gino. And Gino is Indonesian, which for Connor was like a real amazing thing. Connor spent a lot of time in Indonesia in the Harapan project with one of his lifelong mentors, Simbawa and to Carlos. And we were on the beach one day, not sober, but having a beautiful time and pretending to be mermaids. And Gino, who was sort of like somebody who was very, very wise and very switched on, and he was right next door to us, so he could also hear the tears, and he could hear the trauma and the exhaustion, and could see us going out to work constantly.
It was really, really hard.
It was so hard. Like we went to one club the whole summer, and it was only because somebody was coming out to visit us. But we were out on the beach that one day, and Gino kind of knew what we were doing, and I think he never told us, but I think he came out to just sit on the beach and make sure that we were okay. He was we're still in contact with him, just an amazing human, very, very just
real
word
kind of
wise.
Guru vibes,
Guru. He could be a guru. But he, the Indonesians have this amazing relationship with the water. They do things like spearfishing and all the rest of it. And he basically just walked into the sea. Now, Gino had like dreads down to his arse, like really sort of wiry, fit, like man at the time, I think in his 50s maybe. And he just walked into the sea, just dove. And all you just saw, like, the dreadlocks coming out. He was made of the sea. He was meant to be there. It was this really romantic, beautiful scene. And he just dove in to the sea, stayed under for ages. And then the next thing, he just comes out and walks up to us and just hands us this sea creature.
It was magical.
And now, just the shell of it. Now, whenever you're eyes are seeing things in a very different way. The colours of that, before it dried out, the colours of it, because there was still life to it. It was like an organic material.
So
it was one of the most beautiful experiences and things that I've ever had in my entire life. And he just gave it to us and sort of just told us what it was. And then if there had been a smoke machine, and he could have just disappeared into like a mysterious smoke. Like what?
He did. We were looking at the.
Oh yes, true.
Looking at the shell, it was so beautiful.
Isn't
we were
funny?
really mesmerised. I don't really know how else to tell this, but just to reinforce, we were not sober, and it was really there's something that happens often in those moments where you and it happens in life too when you are just sober, but that you just like really intensely center yourself and sort of ground yourself, and it really felt like that. And we were really in that space, and as we looked up, he had disappeared. Literally half the beach had gone as well.
Yeah,
it was
we
really
could
just
have been
like
staring at it for an hour.
it could have been.
Yeah.
But it was just such a lovely, it was just a really beautiful moment.
And that is one of our treasures that
Oh
we've
my
held
God.
on to ever
Like,
since. Like,
it's-
actually, I'm nervous to see it out of the house because normally it
Same.
lives on our mantelpiece in our living room. So we'll have to like see what's
See,
on the
I was
stuff
coming in
brought
this
too.
morning with both of our boxes. They're separate because they're secrets. Smoking a vape and trying to look at my phone and whatever else on the way up on the lift.
You
And I was
suddenly
just
realised.
like, if I drop this, I am dead.
Yeah.
It's funny because our plan was to talk through all of these items, but I feel like Sean's about to tell us we're finishing up. Why don't we do one more from you, and then what we'll do is continue this next week before we bring on our guest.
Well, we'll do a couple more anyway, just to see which one's the best. Right, okay. So my first one that I have brought, and it's a representation. Oh, hang on. I'll bring this one out first. Okay.
Well, that's very
So this
sweet.
is a pottery plate that was made by my mum. Now, my mum is alive. Just it's not like, and she's written Jerry on it. Now, obviously, I love my mum.
Shout out to
and,
Big Jerry.
Big Jerry, love you. But the reason I wanted to bring it was kind of more what it represented. Now, my mum was during whenever she was working, was an incredible interior designer, like incredible, so talented, like a really, really creative person who could kind of turn her hand to anything. And I really believe that about creativity, and I think that I've got that, which is that most creative people can kind of turn their hand to anything creative. Yeah. She's an amazing cook, like unbelievable cook. She dresses beautifully. Well, obviously her house is gorgeous because she was interior designer.
Our house is gorgeous.
Yeah, and the thing was as well, it was beautiful, but it was always practical. It was always comfortable to sit in. So not like, oh, you can't sit down on that, because you can't make the place dirty. We never had to take our shoes off.
Like an IKEA showroom?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
It was never showroomy. Everything that she always chose and still does is built to last, and it's built, for comfort and for living in as well. But the reason I brought this was because this was something that, I think whenever she retired, she wanted to like do different things and be sort of differently creative. And this was something that there's something very vulnerable, I think, about like making a piece, especially whenever you're very experienced and you're very you're at the top of your game in your other level of creativity. So stepping into something else is quite a vulnerable and I think really courageous thing to do. And so she made this at a pottery class and obviously decorated it and painted it and things. And then she gave it to me. And it is one of my favourite things that I have now. And
it's one of my favourite things in the house as well.
Yeah. So I wanted to just bring it, like, not just because I love Mum and I think she's brilliant. And I'm really, really grateful to her for me, in terms of who I am in the world. And I put a lot of that down to her. But also just in terms of like creativity, and just being brave and doing things and put yourself out there, I think is one of the coolest things that anybody can ever do.
For anyone listening, to describe it, it is a big sort of very shallow bowl that's half orange, half cream. It has little bits on it. If you do want to see it, it's very pretty. We're going to put it again on our Instagram, probably in the story highlights. I think.
Yeah.
If we can we'll do another couple,
yeah,
and then we'll sign off because we'll sort of see if there's anything we need to chop.
Yeah.
If I, do you know what your next thing is?
No.
But do you know what you're the next one?
Do I know what
is?
my next one is? Yeah. I'm just going to just make a wee rearrangement here for a second. Sorry, just do a wee.
Yeah, I don't. Now it seems like we're saying we're not sober a lot here.
Well, we're not.
We don't. I have previously had a lot of issues with most substances. So when we say not sober, we mean like a wine. But last night when I was picking, I wasn't sober, and I think I've picked some pretty random things. One of the things is actually a fart box.
That is so funny. But you can't tell the story of the fart box because that's a gag that we're going to do in the future.
Okay.
So we don't want to give that one away because the fart box has got a very specific purpose.
Okay, so then next up, I have brought along this little teddy. So for anyone that's listening and they can't see, this is like a little miniature tiger teddy thing that we actually call, I think this one's called BJ Jr.
Yeah, Baby Eugene Jr.
Baby Eugene Jr. And then there's another BJ Jr. There's a whole collection of these sort of little miniature tigers, and they all come from a big tiger that we have, and we'll bring him in someday. He's like massive.
This size. So the original Eugene is close to 1 meter in width, and like probably the size of like an actual tiger that is maybe about 4 or 5 weeks old. Yeah, they start out really small.
Well, you know them. You know them. This is a cross community tiger in Belfast and around this country. It's the tiger that whatever road it is, if it was the Newton Arch Road or the Falls Road or the Shankill Road or wherever else,
Tiger's
Bay. Oh, Sean.
There was some woman or there was some family that had one of those. They used to do them in white as well.
Yeah.
And they would put them on the top of their sofas.
I had one in white. That's the thing I've never said to you, is that I had a smaller version of that, like an Arctic tiger, on my bed for years, like a white one.
But they would put them on their sofas. And when do you remember that years ago? No?
Facing out the window.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. They're not like teddies. They're like,
no, they are gorgeous.
Do you know what I'm on about?
They're like they are. What's that thing you say? DTR.
DTR.
Down the road.
Yeah.
So they are very down the road, but I love them. Do you know what we're talking about? Those, they're like ceramic.
Yes.
Oh God, they're gorgeous.
And then there's the sparkly ones.
The sparkly
or
ones.
The velvet ones.
I would give anything for one of those.
Oh, you're clearly on the road a bit more than us. What is it? What's a velvet one of those?
A velvet tiger.
Wow. Like from one of those, from that like sparkly shop in Castlecourt, would they have one?
Yeah. They would have like 8 in stock.
A selection.
Yeah.
It's like their top,
they'd have a range.
Yeah.
Their top item.
Yeah.
So not those lovely tall cats, but
I would love
sort
one of them.
They're like the teddy version. They're tacked out. A lot of people would have it. You had the white one.
Yeah, and Eugene used to have like a voice box that would roar and things like that. But tell the story about how you found Eugene.
So Eugene Eugene is an adopted tiger. That one night I was out in Melbourne in Australia. I used to live there years ago, and I was again not very sober, wandering the streets, and I mean like wrecked, could barely see, and we found Eugene in a tip, and we took him home like a skip. And
you saved him.
we rescued him and took him back. So basically in the sort of the theme of Joey, our dog, I sort of formed a whole personality for this tiger. Yeah. There's something about the play of that I'm really interested in. It's sort of like a safety check for people. You know, often if you, like for example, another just question that you can ask is, what is your favourite type of tree? And people who are up for it and are there to have
the answer isn't important. It's how you answer. It's whether you answer or not, because some people are like, what, as if you're trying to trick them, and other people are like, I don't know, would it be cherry blossom, you know, and they really get into it.
Yes.
So the people that get into it are the players,
people that can play.
It was one of the things that I think it was the thing that broke down the initial barrier for me with you, was whenever we were out the back of my house that I lived in with my husband, again, not sober, and you started like tapping something and saying, let's do garden percussion, and started like tapping a table and making noise that, and he was like, go on, you do it too, you just like tap that pipe there, you know, like let's play garden percussion. And I was like, I don't know, I don't really know what to do, and I was full of my own like fears of making a dick out of myself, but like I was in my own garden just with Connor, and next thing I just went, because I wanted Connor to also trust me at the same time, and I didn't, and I was like caught in this loop of like, am I a dick for doing it or for not doing it? And I thought, well, actually probably for not doing it, you know, why would I be scared to do it? So I started tapping the pipe. Then the next thing, it was just like, oh well, that wasn't so hard. And from that moment, I think I've not said no, and I've got over myself at every opportunity to play.
If it's safe, say yes.
Yeah, and it's like we go into IKEA, and now like anytime we would go into IKEA, one of us is usually sitting on a trolley being wheeled about the place, like generally making a nuisance of ourselves. And as people look at you like, what do you do? We can't do that so much now, because now Connor has bright yellow hair and people be like, I follow your Instagram. So we don't do it so much now, but it used to be like standard play.
But Eugene was we were living in a hostel at the time. This place was a shithole. I love it. It's now gone, so I'm not really bitching the back out of it. The owners really looked after us all, and if you couldn't pay for your rent that week, they were grand. You could do a bit of work for it, or you could do something else. It's sort of rare in a massive city to kind of find a space like that. There's a real community. I think a lot of people turned up there with the idea that they were going to be there for a week. They'll find a share house and then they'll move out.
I don't like the vagueness, or you can do something else.
Do something else of what?
Like, if you can't pay, you can either
work
for it.
Yeah, you have to finish that sentence.
Yeah, I mean,
you
like,
can
do
like
the
clean
dishes.
the floor. No sexual favours were required in exchange for rent.
I would do the
rent.
kitchen.
Yeah.
I actually, my job, I rarely paid for rent because my job was to do the kitchen, and rather than do the kitchen, I was a real kind of hustler. I was there to like just make money and get back to Asia, or get back to somewhere else to work for humanitarian projects and sort of develop and get those skills. But I got that job, and I really campaigned to get that job as the kitchen cleaner, so I didn't have to pay rent. And then I farmed that job out to my friend Shauna. I used to pay her in bags of weed to do that job while I went and did something like another 4 or 5 jobs at the time. It was mad. But anyways, in Australia, we had Eugene. He actually had his own bunk. 3 of us used to share a room, and there was a fourth
they
bunk.
wouldn't let somebody take the bed in the room because that was the fake tiger's bed.
What happened if Eugene didn't come up with the rent?
Well, Eugene never paid rent because Eugene was giving
Eugene
more
was paying
back.
in their engaging personality and the crack that was coming.
Like, this could it really could be this could be a whole podcast about Eugene, but to sort of long story short, Eugene in that hostel had his own birthday. He was 12
birthday
at the time.
party.
I was working for this events venue and over ordered on food and on cake and on balloons and everything else. Got it all back. We had a balloon release for this tiger. It was actually a surprise birthday, so we had a it was so fun.
Like a blindfold on it. Yeah.
We'll see if we can get some pictures, but we had a blindfold on him.
And Eugene, whenever Connor was coming back to back home afterwards, like obviously being skint, there wasn't that many things that he could afford to bring back. And wasn't it your friend?
My friend Siobhan. I basically ran out in a cloud of green, ready to run to the Sky Coach and get on a flight. And I basically threw my skateboard, a load of bits that I just loved but I couldn't carry because they were too heavy. I was going to Asia, and threw Eugene at her and told her if she could just work it out, like, please get back to Ireland, here was my address. And I kind of just forgot about it. When I arrived back to my folks a long time later, they were like, "This massive box has came here for you," and they'd never opened it, which is strange because they would do that. But when I opened it up, it was Eugene, my skateboard, and another few wee bits that she had put in, like
lovely
bits
memories.
that I love, wee memories. Yeah.
So Eugene then ended up, and we were just talking about Ibiza. Eugene came to Ibiza with us,
Eugene was
in the
swimming
caravan.
in the waves.
Like, we have a caravan and a full summer's worth of stock and all of the stuff that we needed. But we brought a tiger that was like this size as part of our essential thing. Eugene swam in the sea and all.
Eugene is better travelled than me.
Yeah.
Eugene's been the whole way. So Eugene went with my friend George, and what was his friend called? Well, went with my friend George, and they were going through the red centre of Australia and then down the west coast, sort of past Perth and Broome and all the rest of it, like a real iconic journey, the sort of journey that people dream of. And he went in their truck. They asked to take Eugene because they were so connected to this fucking tiger. And we had built the lure.
Also, I do imagine that Eugene would be a good trail finder as well. Like a good navigator.
Well,
totally.
It's in him.
Yeah, totally.
It is in him. But so they took him through the Red Centre, all through Australia. He's been on a couple of other trips.
We should bring Eugene in, I think.
We'll bring him in.
Yeah, we'll bring him in.
We'll do a podcast with him. He actually doesn't have a voice, funny.
Yeah.
He's never really... He did one night we were sitting...
He communicates in other ways.
And he, before we put him in the sea and pools and he's travelled all the bits, one night he was sitting and out of nowhere, he roared and his wee eyes lit up. We were all just sort of sitting chatting, and you sort of built all of this character and story around this teddy, this fake big teddy, and then we were sitting one night and he give it a full roar and his little eyes went. It never happened again.
It must have been just like the death throes. That must have been his wee voice box, just giving up for a final time.
But shout out to Eugene and anyone that loved him out there, because we still love him. He's in our house. And
we'll get him out and bring him in. Yeah, so everybody can say. Well, will I go for another one then?
I think if we can do one more, that would be amazing.
Yeah. So, to represent things that I or we love, I have brought this. Your ping pong cap.
Well, I also brought this,
Oh,
which is a ping pong flyer.
Which I think unquestionably is one of the things in our lives that we are the most grateful for and we just love the most. We are part of this incredible group of people. Artists and creatives and performers.
They say queerdos, which I just think is a wonderful term.
Yeah, that perfectly describes us as well. And so through our beautiful, amazing wonder friend Stephen, for many years, like over COVID and things, like he was trying to
Stephen from Cork.
Stephen from Cork, or when he goes to Cork, he's called Stephen from Belfast. Yeah. But you'll wreck your hair if you put that on.
Oh, there's another boy.
Oh, that's other things that were meant to be. Get a chant. That was me trying to pack carefully.
Oh, perfect.
But so Stephen was trying to introduce us to this group, to Cian and Deirdre and Alicia and Graham, and there's a huge group. I couldn't possibly start to name everybody, but it's predominantly run by Cian and his brothers and partner Deirdre, and sort of a little sort of condensed group of performers and dancers and things that they have. They were trying to get this kicked off, and then COVID happened, and eventually we ended up working with them for the first time last summer at the All Together Now festival. They had their own tent. Connor and I were acting as drag bouncers, so we were dressed up in costume, which is something that we've done over the years anyway. We started to do it as a means of getting attention. You know, like we started to do it to dress up in funny costumes to do fundraising and to get stationery for local schools and things like that. And we realised it was also a really nice creative release for us. It meant that we got to really do that play thing. We are very comfortable with the concept of ego and how we try not to live in ours. We all have one, but we try to really not lead with that. And the idea of doing performance and dressing up in costumes and putting on makeup and wigs and things like that was something that we loved to do. And we ended up getting paid to do it and doing different events and things over the years, which saved our lives. It kept us paying our bills and buying food and things like that.
Do you have drag personas?
Not really.
Yes
I'm
and
not
no.
incredibly comfortable. It's more of like a walkabout.
Yeah.
And it's more of like a sort of, like, I think about it like party filler. Mm-hmm. So it's like a little interaction that you have with someone. Mm-hmm. And then they're going into the tent.
Yeah.
Or you're in the tent and you're in and around them and you're having fun and they're,
so we'll be doing the door.
Yeah.
And whenever people are queuing to get into the event, and we'll be saying okay, so before you go in, we want to flap your arms like a chicken. You're sort of like being like a fluffer, like a crack warmer type thing.
Yeah.
So we do that, and we'll do sort of have our costumes that were made by our interns this year, and they were amazing.
They're absolutely fucking rotten.
They're mental.
They're
really
stinking, but in the best possible way.
They're perfect costumes because they move with lights, and you can kind of just do all of this kind of big. You can make yourself look really big. We'll have things like ribbon twirlers, or we'll have bubble machines and stuff, and we're just trying to kind of create a vibe and an atmosphere. But being part of this group and the people that are part of it has given us something that we didn't know we needed in the world. Also for us, our lives are centered around another world and show some love. And so it's kind of given us a bit, it's even though it's really hard work to go to work at a festival, you're there for 4 or 5 days, you're living out of a tent, you're trying to do makeup and you can't have a shower, all of that kind of weird, although we did showers last year, it was amazing in the crew area. But it's given us this kind of different creative release and this different kind of, the way they say change is as good as a rest. Uh-huh. Because creatively it's different to what we're currently doing. It has been so helpful for all of the other stuff that we do. And then also Connor has been doing things like social media for them, for the collective, for the festival, and for a couple of other events that they've done since then in Carlow for Culture Night and in Dublin for a performance night.
It has been so fucking fun.
Yeah.
And it's sort of another sort of string to what we do as artists and activists and performers. It sort of just brings, like we were saying at the very beginning, it brings that energy, it brings that kind of life and joy.
Yeah, and as you said, it gives you energy. Even though you're busy, it's something that you enjoy, and sometimes that's better than...
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the last couple of gigs we did with them, it's paid for us to go on a holiday. We have not been on a holiday. Well, we went on one
in March,
our first one in years. Mm-hmm. In March, and we're basically going on the exact same holiday. We're now those people, because we love it,
and it's cheap,
and it's GC,
and we can live in Gran Canaria. We can live on cheap
queens.
Vodka and chips.
Yeah,
and
there's good drag.
It's going to be amazing. So thank you to Bing Punk for that, and thank you to them for welcoming us and giving us life and trusting in what we can do, because.
we hope we'll have them on the podcast over the next few months. Like, it'd be really lovely. Like we always say to any of them who are coming, you know, like if you're coming to Belfast, let us know and things like that. So we hope that we'll be able to have a few visitors over the next few months and get them on to, because they are the crack. Oh dear God!
I think what we'll do is we've still got a load of stuff to show, but we can't talk forever. So what we'll do is we'll keep our boxes here. Anything that we can't keep here, we will store and we'll talk about it over the next while. That'll be good. And then whenever we have our guests come up, they're going to be bringing us their bits. One thing I want to say before we sign off is thank you for listening. If you've made it this far, that's wonderful. Again, tell everyone, do all the stuff, ring the bells and subscribe and everything else. If you want to find us or you want to know more, you can find us mostly on TikTok or on Instagram. Just search Show Some Love Belfast. And also, if you're doing the letters, so it wasn't part of this show, but it's going to be part of any guest show, where it's called Queens Around the Corner. Or Queers Around the Corner.
Both work.
And we are going to be reading your letters. So make them weird, make them wonderful. You can ask us like anything.
Ask us about ourselves, but ask us for advice on your weird dilemmas.
Yeah, strange stuff. Dear Deirdre, are you taking up the bum but you got a wife and stuff like that? So,
and
can it be like Dear Eugene?
Oh yes, that's it now. It's Dear Eugene.
Perfect.
Love it. Then you get an international perspective.
Oh, we're already laying down the lower.
Yeah, wonderful.
Also, thank you to Sean for having us.
And 1620 Audio. You're wonderful.
This has been fantastic.
Oh, sweet.
Shout out to your volunteers.
Shout out to our volunteers and our board and just anybody who supports us. We are so grateful to have you all, and hopefully we will see more. Yeah.
Shout out to Queers.
Up a Queers. Bye.